Hey guys, this is Ryan here today to talk to you guys a little bit about SIS 2.0, as we will be seeing the end to our SIS legacy or SIS web as we all know it, probably later 2021. So need to start working on, or later 2020, 2021, so we need to start working on trying to get in SIS 2.0 and getting comfortable with it. So you've probably seen the Try SIS 2.0 icon on the top of our SIS. Caterpillar come to us and asked if we could put that banner up there for everybody with a D090 login. So as long as you have a D090 login, you should see this at the top. So we'll jump into SIS 2.0 and talk about some of the pros that we've got with it. Start off by saying that we've got to use Google Chrome. I shouldn't say got to use Google Chrome. We cannot use Internet Explorer is a better way to put that. Works with Firefox and Google Chrome, and I'm not 100% sure on other, what do they call them, web browsers. So Google Chrome works the best. I suggest staying in it. You'll get some glitchy things if you use Internet Explorer, but here's our home page of SIS. So you'll notice it looks a lot different from what we're used to back here. Now we've got our serial number prefix, and we have a search box. And we've got some new information down here at the bottom. This is kind of like in SIS, you've got new information over here. This tab here, so we no longer have that. So we've got everything that we'll need to know coming up here. They do releases about, I'd say once a week, once every 2 weeks or so. You can see we're on release 44 now. They're coming out pretty quickly now as far as releases go. We jumped on, Carolina Cat's been on the SIS 2.0 demo team since 2017. So it's been a while. It started out to be just parts, so it's come a long ways. It's something that I use now every day instead of SIS. It's SIS 2.0 now is what I use. So you got a couple tabs here on what's new and in the releases and the release dates. You can see this one was just earlier this week. You got some 3D graphic viewings. It's mobile friendly, so it had an update for the mobile phone, and might I say the mobile app, not app, but the mobile site works very well and very useful as far as when you don't have your computer sitting right in front of you. And then what's coming soon. So we've got one of the big questions is this one right here is similar parts search. So it's being in the works. Parts manuals one at a time, and then the parts history search. So the parts history search is more like what we're used to calling NPR nowadays. So your NPR search will be parts history search. So those two things are big items that I know the SIS 2.0 team's been working pretty hard on because it wasn't easy to convert that stuff over. This NPR stuff, I'll talk to you guys a little bit about it. Honestly, I don't really see a need for NPR anymore. As good as the search function is on SIS 2.0, you really don't need it. So up here at the top, you'll see a few things. We now have a shopping cart. So that's our parts list now. I've got 18 things in there, and it rolls over now. So this cart, if I leave SIS and I get back into it, those parts will stay there. You can do the same thing like we used to do, save parts list, and I'll talk about ordering parts here in a little bit, but that stays at the top of the screen no matter where we're at. To get back to our home screen, over here, any of this cat logo, anywhere inside that cat logo, you click it and it brings you right back to our home screen no matter where we're at in SIS. These links right here, it's going to give you your software files because software files are not stored in SIS 2.0. They are still located in Legacy SIS. So if you click on it, it's going to pop you over into where you can search for software files. That's kind of, I think from what I've been told, is going to be about the last thing that gets transferred over into SIS 2.0 because of how critical it is and how integrated it is with SIS. It's not easy to transfer over. So That's going to stay there for a little while. Additional service information. This is going to be the same thing as what we see over here, or in the View More tab is what we're used to seeing all this stuff here. These are nothing more than links. It's not part of SIS, so this is pretty much the same thing and just brings you to a different location. All the same information. It actually a little bit more because it gives you the support person and then their email address if you have any issues with any of these things. One of the formerly known one that we use, we love so much, cat branded telehandlers. So that site's staying the same, unfortunately, but it is. So that's our links. And this page here gives you what's latest and greatest and the newest information that's being entered into SIS. Same thing as what we had back here in our, wrong button. So the new informations tab, this is giving you what's been entered in SIS in the past 7 days. I hardly see where I'm going here. So that's our new information, same thing that should be in SIS. So if it breaks it down into information types over here, so it makes it a little bit easier if you want to see, you know, whatever service letters have been entered in the past few days. Highlight service letters, apply the filter. Now you have all your service letters that you've seen or that have been added to SIS in the past 7 days. You've got 16 of them. And all of our different languages that they've added. So we'll get started here at the base of the page. Any questions so far with the home screen and how it compares to SIS?
Nope.
So I have one question about, you mentioned the web browsers which to use. What type of error or anything do we get if you do use Internet Explorer?
So some of the links will not work. Your parts graphics will be distorted and sometimes not follow, which I'll show you when you scroll. The parts graphic will come down with it. So
it's a real functionality issue.
Yeah.
It just won't work right.
And so if somebody sees that, then that should be a clue for them that, hey, they opened it in the wrong browser.
Wrong browser.
Okay. And then for the mobile device, I mean, all of us using iPhones, Safari works perfectly fine.
Works very well. Yep.
Okay. All right. Fantastic.
Yep.
That's probably my favorite thing about 2.0 is being able to use it on my phone or my iPad, and it works fantastic.
Yep. The iPad's nicer. It's a little bit bigger, but you've seen on that new release that I clicked on what's new, and it had a lock in the parts graphic and mobile scrolling. So when you go to the parts graphic, the picture stays, and then you can scroll through your parts.
Okay.
Because that was a little glitch that they had, or a little fix that had to come along. So.
All right, good.
I got one thing right quick. For one thing, Ryan, you've done answered two of my questions right off the bat, so thank you there. One of them was the similar search and the NPR and flat file. So it's actually three things. So I'm glad that they've incorporated that into it. However, I have had a couple of people that I guess you could say hard-headed, don't want to go out of Internet Explorer, and it did lock up in it. And I told them to use Google Chrome, and that actually fixed the problem. So, yeah, I agree with you. It locks up in Internet Explorer.
Caterpillar is going away from Internet Explorer altogether, like all of their different teams that they have. The stuff that they're putting out on the internet and different sites and programs are not being supported by Internet Explorer anymore. So as of right now, yes, SIS Legacy, SIS Web as we know it works much better in Internet Explorer. But being that it's going away and other things too, it's just going to be a culture change to get over into a different web browser and maybe even set it up as your default web browser.
Yeah, that's what I had to do because I'm so accustomed to Internet Explorer. I had to actually remove the icon from my desktop and force myself to use Chrome.
Yeah, that makes
sense.
sense.
To me, the bigger struggle was learning Chrome instead of learning 2.0 because it is so different. But now that I force myself to use it and I use it every day, it's easy.
And there's a few little things that we'll go over on Google Chrome that's different, especially with schematics. So there might be some heartache with schematics, but we'll go over making changes in the settings here in a little bit to get that back right. So I'm just gonna pick on a little bit here right off the start. So we can do the same as what we're used to in SIS. We can do a prefix or a whole serial number, whatever it may be. The nice thing about it too is that we can also search, which is even nicer. We can search an actual model, machine model, and then it'll pull up, you know, if it had an engine for a D8T, which I'm not really sure which D8T has a 7.1 in it, but well, apparently there's one out there somewhere. And then all the different prefixes for our D8Ts works pretty well too if you don't have a prefix.
That's much easier than the legacy SIS, having to click that model search link and then go to a different screen, and here you just start typing.
Yeah, you start typing. I mean, it works for engines, machines, whatever it may be. All of our engines for 3508s.
Yeah, that does make it a whole lot easier.
Sometimes you'll notice like it covers up where I was typing, and from what I've been told, it really just kind of depends on how your screen sizing has been sized. So if the up here is not as big, then my drop down will be down at the bottom, but right now it wants to go up.
One thing I've noticed, people having issues when you do type in, for example, right now you've got MLN, you then have to go and click on the result that you want. You don't just continue going in.
Continue going in. That may be a little bit, so I've asked for SIS 2.0 to take this little box and drop it down just below our navigate, because you do have to click on this before you can see your navigate. So I've asked them to drop that down just a little bit, and I'm hoping they're working on that. I didn't see it in the coming soon, but I have let them know that that's kind of cumbersome. And that also forces a lot of people to come over here to the search button, which if you're just going in here just to work like you do in SIS, if you hit the search button, you're going to be really confused because it's going to come up with every parts document and media document for a D8T, and you'll see up here you got about 6,259 results. So it's not really the best way to come about if you have nothing to start with.
True. And the organization is not.
Yeah, organizations, unless you want to start to really drill down, which I'll talk about, you can start drilling down. If you want parts, you know you want just parts, you can apply a filter. So now my 6,000 results are 1,500. And then you can come down a little bit more and go into systems, and there's a bunch of systems. So if you knew you wanted all the parts for fuel systems, you can come in here and now you have parts, fuel system filters. It's not great. So we'll start back over here. We'll come into MLN 509. I'll show you guys something cool here too to start with. So I hit the navigate button. And if you put in your whole serial number, which is going to become more and more required as far as just a prefix, with all of our nomenclature changes with machines, that there's going to be a lot of serial number breaks. I mean, we see serial number breaks now, but they're going to be more frequent. So once you put in your whole serial number, you get right at the top here, you'll notice you get service letters, SIMSI, and TMI, which is something that I've asked for with this 2.0 group, and they made it happen. And it's pretty awesome.
I didn't even know that was there. That's awesome.
So you click on it, and it gives you all of the service letters for this machine and whether they've been completed by who and when. And these links right now do go back to regular SIS. They will eventually get changed. So if I click on it, it comes back. So it's kind of funky, but I had to get that to go away. I can just leave all these tabs up there. But so that's one nice thing. SIMSI too as well will populate. There it is. SIMSI will populate the serial number in there as well for you. You get product configuration on how it was configured, which really you don't need that anymore with SIS 2.0, but it's there if you want to come to it. And I'll tell you why, the customer name and address, and then any SIMS entry you have for it, just like SIMSI. So, and then TMI is
A lot easier.
yeah, it comes right in and kind of saves you a couple steps. So my engine serial number, as you guys know, just like TMI, if you put the machine in there, you'll get the engine. But so there's TMI, works pretty well. But as far as the configurations, like I was talking about, right here's all your configurations, right on the home screen. So instead of going to SIMSI and configurations, you got all how this machine was shipped or built.
So is that pulled in off the invoice just like SIMSI did?
Yeah, same thing. So it's no different,
That's awesome.
but it's right there, very first page. Again, so as where SIS asks for, whenever you put the whole serial number in there, it'll ask you for a configuration, but it usually pops right up in front of you and says, do you want, you know, the winch or do you want a tractor? You'll notice like right here, I put a D8 in and I've only got a few parts, right? Well, my configurations for this PA 140 winch, which goes on the back of a D8. So you actually have to select D8.
So I have spoken to the 2.0 people about that, and supposedly they were going to request that it ask you instead of defaulting, because that is something that it's gotten me a couple times, that if you don't pay attention, it typically does not default to the machine. It typically defaults to whatever the first option is. And in this case,
Yep.
that was the winch.
The winch. So that leads me to another item about feedback. So over here in the top corner, it gives you about it, training, and feedback. So the feedback button will bring you to an email. And then the email will, you can put in any feedback, and it goes right to the SIS 2.0 team instead of like anybody that does anything for actual documentation in SIS, and that's just for right now. Once SIS 2.0 is up and running, and it'll go into the documentation side just like we do for SIS. But any feedback like that, run it right through the feedback section.
And they're typically very responsive.
Very, yeah, good call. So once I've got my configuration set, you'll notice I have two items up top here. I got parts and I got service. And it's just like we're used to in SIS, where we have document structure, service, or parts, product structure. And then so parts will come down just like we're used to. And it does kind of get tight in here, so they've got a little arrow that opens her up if you want to, or if not, you leave it closed. This should look very similar to anything else in SIS with engine-related systems, basic engine, cylinder head, and like I said, it gets a little tight. So if you really wanted to open it up a little bit, and you can start to see a little bit more, and then close it back out. I'll just click on one here. So this is just a bracket on the cylinder head, but here's our parts look. Should look very similar to SIS, just like we're used to with all of our parts on the right, which isn't a whole lot, but got some parts on here on the right, and we can add to cart. This is just like adding parts to a parts list. You'll notice it pops up with little red tabs, and it's telling me that going to my cart. You can add all, which it just doubled my order, but this little information tab over here on the right is what they're considering parts history, more or less, NPR stuff. I don't believe I'll have anything over here. Let's see if I can find one that actually has NPR. Space plate. Nope, no parts history. It does work. It's not perfect. And that's what hopefully they're getting that back, you know, kind of the way it was. But I was hoping to find one. I didn't find one. But even if you wanted the search feature, now I'll kind of run into that. If you wanted to know all the service magazines and parts changes that you needed for this, if you just copy and paste the part number up here, and then you can do your search on that specific part, and you're going to pull in, I've got parts, reuse salvage guidelines, and specs for that part. So there was no parts change on it. There's no magazine or anything like that.
Hey, one other thing I love about 2.0 is the back arrow works.
It works, and it works well.
Yep.
So like I just did that search there, and I want to go back to where I was, pull us right back into where I was, and then even
Something you couldn't do in legacy SIS.
no. And if I want to go back from there, another step, I just hit the back button again. If I want to keep going back, it'll eventually bring me back to the very first page I started. So, and then the forward button, which is pretty cool. It works really well.
Mm-hmm.
Service articles. So right beside the parts, you've got service articles, just assembly of anything that has to do with our engine block, head, engine news, reuse and salvage guidelines, service magazines, all that stuff is right here. One of the other nice things about SIS 2.0 with this whole deal is that, so we'll do disassembly with the camshaft bearings, and there's two options here. So I can click on this one here, and it's going to bring me to that camshaft bearing installed within the same window, which is nice. But then again, if I wanted to continue to look at parts, and I want to look at remove and install to see what other parts I'm going to need during the remove and install, I can click on the little breakout box, and now that just broke me out 2 windows of SIS 2.0. So the screen looks a little bit different, but now we have that documentation right here in front of us, so I'll know that I need some tooling or whatnot. Jump right back into here, and then I can do my cylinder liner removal, and it opens up another window. So now I've got my camshaft bearing remove and liner install remove, whatever it may be, and then still be able to work into parts, come in here and select whatever parts you need.
So that's one of the smartest things that they did, was give you all that on this one page. One question, you were showing how to add parts to the cart, and I noticed as soon as you click, it added to the cart, where previously you had to select the parts and then choose add to cart.
Add to cart.
So what if you're just accidentally clicking and didn't realize you're adding? How easy is it to remove those parts that you just put in?
So right up here in the cart, you can either change your quantity or X them out, delete all, change your quantities. They got little arrows to drop up and down.
So you have to actually go to your cart if you accidentally click and add one.
Add one.
Yeah.
I'm not actually 100% sure what this does. I guess if you were gonna add these to a parts list, you could put some notes there. Actually, first time I've seen that. Which will lead me, I guess, to say that as of right now, we do not have the integration from here to ServiceLink to be able to order parts and go right to our ServiceLink, or go from ServiceLink to SIS and order parts. Supposed to be coming in mid-March 2020, so here we are in February, so it should be coming close. I've seen some pilot things for it now. So as of right now, if you're using SIS 2.0, you will have to kind of do like we used to do and export to an XML file, save it, go into ServiceLink, upload it.
Yeah.
You can save your list just like you could in SIS and legacy SIS. So you order number, save your list. Now you have your cart in my list. So if you have a reoccurring list that you want to pull up, so this is a different order list that I had. Click add all. All those parts now are in my list. So if you save the list, that's where they go. Save my list. Or if you want to import a list, if you have a file, just like in regular SIS, you have a file, you want to import it in or download it, save it to a file. Print works well. Needed to print one or anything like that. Back out of here. Back button, going through all the stuff that I just did. Coming back to over here, again, there's, like I said, there's 2 things there, and then you have your where used, So if you had to find the same part on a different machine, you can see that this C18 cylinder block's used or 15 is used in a bunch of different machines. Your SMCS codes are up at top. So as far as warranty goes, it's what you'll need for SMCS codes. Before I jump over into the service side, are there any questions with this?
Now, I'm glad you pointed out the SMCS codes, because they used to be at the bottom of the page, and I have noticed they're no longer there. I just didn't pay attention that they were at the top.
Mm-hmm. Even the
I got
print
a
screen as well. All right, Greg, go for it.
The parts availability and pricing, have they got that figured out yet, or still working on it?
I don't think we're going to see that. So I've done some talking with our management group and with our IT group, and all price and availability option is linked directly to Part Store. And as you guys know, we're no longer using Part Store. So it's kind of tough to get that back when we're not using Part Store. And then there's a factor that's involved with is all the customers' pricing and stuff like that. So I don't think we're going to see it. I'm going to ask to see if we can get it separated, and then possibly just
If nothing else, if nothing else, I was thinking, I do understand the customer discount problem. I was going to do or ask like a cash sale price on any and everything that you look at, just to give you an idea, and if it's in stock or not.
Yep. I know it's a huge time saver because I had access to it. It is a huge time saver. So all the push I can get for it. I mean, like I said, it sounds really nice and easy. But then again, if we if we open this up to us, we're also opening up to our customers too. So there might be some training along there, and
Right.
it's definitely being talked about, but I'm not sure if we're going to get our wishes or not.
Okay.
Anything else in parts?
I'm assuming, as we're accustomed to, any text that's in a different color is a link.
Yep. So your blue link here will bring you to that block.
I noticed also there's no, like typically you would see a Y, which meant there was a separate illustration, or an R, which meant remand parts available, or I don't see a column for those notes, those type notes.
Yep. And I don't have an answer. I think most of that stuff is being printed down here now instead of having, so like this would be a note for M or S for SAE. I know like in standard SIS, there would be an S there for standard bolt or whatnot.
But I do like they give you the actual dimensions, and so I'm assuming the little arrow looking symbol means it's part of a group.
Part of a group. Yeah, so this number 2 cylinder block has these 3 items that will come if you order the top number. Then the arrow is just to kind of show you that it's I don't know if it's tabbed over or whatnot you would call that. 2D hot pointing works if you don't know what I'm talking about. It helps a lot with harnesses. Let me kind of come down here to wiring. Let's see if I can find. Of course, I picked one with like the least amount of wires. There we go. So if I click on 10, it will zoom in now, and highlight it in green. Kind of moves along with the page. This helps a lot when you have more than 2 pages too. I wish I could see if I can find one with more than 1 page.
Does it work the other way too? If you click on the parts illustration, will it move the part number up to the top?
Well, I'll show you, but hang on 1 second. This here is a bug that is being worked on. So we just ran into one of the bugs, which leads me to say that SIS 2.0 is a work in progress. It is not complete yet. Again, I say the updates once a week. There's a full team working on it. So if you see one that has this really small parts screen, it is a bug in the system, and they are working on it. So it's not your computer or anything. It's a well-known issue, and they are working on it. That one there, you could have saw it had an alternate part, so your OR parts or anything like that. If it was an OR part, it'll come down here for an alternate part.
Okay.
I think if I'm leaving anything else out. So your alternate parts will also have kits involved with it as well. I'm going to try to find some kit numbers or anything like that, but I don't know if I'm going to find one. Zoom feature works really well. Jump over here into service. Not much has changed here, besides being in alphabetical order, and they're going to stay in alphabetical order. That's due to just really so we get used to knowing where they're at. It made the most sense when they started to place all this stuff, and they were trying to make it so that your most recent searches and stuff went to the top. And I told them we're so used to scrolling to the bottom for testing and adjusting, stuff like that, that it's just better to keep it like that. So disassembly, assembly, you have all your disassembly, assembly, same as what it used to be, nothing different. Again, if you can't see anything here, you just open her up. If you're used to using document structure like this, or if you want to come into parts and you can go to the engine, remove and install, and I bet you can find the same exact stuff. Which, if you notice, when I went from there to here, I didn't lose my place either. So when I went from parts to service, I don't lose where I was at.
That's nice.
It's almost like having two screens there as well. Let's see if I can find, but that disassembly assembly should be the same information found within parts and the engine group for remove and install. As soon as I can slow down and find my engine.
Right there.
Just cylinder block again. If I was actually to find the whole engine, it may be a group, but yeah, it should all be the same. I'm failing at finding the same exact thing, but yeah, same information in here. Works really well. One thing that I guess from here, if you left off on a troubleshooting guide and then jumped in and wanted to, I won't go to that. I'll go to a machine. Jumped in and started working on another machine of some sort, and you wanted to jump in and go to you got a skid steer sitting next to it, and if you want to go to a TL, fat finger, look at a different machine, you can jump right over into it. And now I'm in an FTL machine to where I'll have my parts and service. This one's got a repair tab. They're working on getting into telling you like when the alternator needs to be replaced. Here's the alternator. This isn't quite ready to start using yet. Kind of like our kits nowadays. So if you've got filter kits and all of your PM kits and stuff like that, they'll end up in this section here. Not there yet, working on it, but you can see they're starting to work on it. So I just jumped from the MLN to the FTL prefix pretty fast. One thing that a lot of people like to do, or seems to do real easy, and they forget about this little box over here. Let me get back to my MLN. Is they'll come up here and then they'll put the FTL, or put their serial number prefix up here and then hit this button here. But this is a search button. So if you hit that search button, now you're going to go into a search.
That different structure.
Which is 4,000 results. So you're getting, I mean, if you wanted to search an FTL fuel pump, it'll narrow your search down a whole lot. So you only get 150. And you can do this straight from the MLN serial number prefix. You can do a search right into it.
But it's important to remember to hit the navigate button.
Yeah, this is your navigate button, which you see is red because I'm not changing anything. I have to actually make a change to go jump into it.
That search box, I think, is another tremendous improvement. Instead of having so many different searches, you had a part search, you had an advanced full text search, you had a basic search, you had a filter search, a reman part search, a yellow mark part search. I mean, there's so many. Now there's just simply one search box, and no matter what you want to search, you just go there.
It works really well.
Yes.
We bring up this one a lot because it shows you how fast we just searched 2 million products or 2 million different types of information, documents or whatnot, just by searching Bolt now. And then you can search all different ways. And now obviously you're not going to go in here and search Bolt and then come down to your backhoe loader and then find the backhoe bolt that you want to go into, whether it, like 415. You can go at something completely wrong. And I would say that would be it. Like, you don't want to search Bolt and then narrow down by product and then narrow down. This just doesn't make sense. But if you had a physical part number and you didn't really care about the actual machine model, that search works really well. So for fuel pump, I've got 217 results. And if I was just looking for the fuel pump and parts, so these are my information types right here. I got 29 different parts. So if I just wanted parts, you can see I clicked on it, it highlighted a check mark. These are filters. So you've got to apply the filter and it tells you filter, you've got one, you can clear them right there. So now I've got MLN fuel pump and I hit parts. So one of the other great things about SIS 2.0 is, so these are all parts documents because we filtered parts. This little button here just opens up all of a brief thumbnail picture for all the parts. So when you want to scroll down, whether you want fuel pump transfer or you want fuel pump, they call these unit fuel pumps, or you want the actual injection pump. So it gives you a transfer pump here. So pretty easy to find.
So just out of curiosity, it looks like it's a full text search. So it's picking up anything that has the word fuel and anything that has the word pump or the combination of fuel and pump. Does it, if you put quotations around your search term, does it narrow it even further?
So it will look for exactly what you type in there. The one thing that asterisk still works. So your wild card still works.
Yeah.
So like if I accidentally put that and don't put a space in there, it's not going to find it. The wild card will find, and Google Chrome does this itself. But as far as pump, if it had pumps,
right.
We're used to putting in the wild card, and it would find pumps, even though
it automatically wild cards now.
Yeah, pretty much wild cards. It still works, but Google Chrome kind of does that for you. Kind of depends on the browser you're using.
But the biggest thing is because you're using that full text search, it picks up any document that has the combination of those words.
Any document.
Yeah.
Which is nice, especially when you're talking about service magazines and stuff like that. So if you've got a pump and you're wanting just to see if there's any updated pumps, so we've got 18 service magazines here. You apply that filter. Now I've just got service magazines for pumps, so I can look here. Is it implement pump? There's a fuel priming pump change. If I really wanted to actually narrow it down, if it was way more than 18, I could come down here and say, I just want fuel system.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm just going to find service magazines, pump for the fuel system.
And because you have your machine serial number in there, it's only specific to that machine.
Specific to that machine. And it, when you're doing your search, so I'm in the search now for MLN, this product configuration tabs right here, because you'll notice that my search now, I don't have the parts and service up here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I have the different document types. So you have actual, it tells me here, it's publications, and then articles, and then parts, and then all. So that's the search records. So, I mean, I can search by publication type by the click here, one click. And people get confused in publications and articles. If you look at a service magazine, that's a publication. There's usually a bunch of articles within a service magazine. You can find like a service magazine or media number, and that'll be an actual publication. So your TFBU would be an article, and it gets a little complicated with all that stuff. But like, this is a page out of a book, and that's kind of what the indications are there for. If I wanted to get back to where I had, I'm still in MLN 509, get back to where I had parts and service. If I click on this product configuration, that just kind of jumped me right back into where I started out as far as a navigate, where I have parts and service right here.
Yeah.
So they kind of made it to where you never really have to go all the way back if you really didn't want to.
I noticed when you do go all the way back, you lose your.
You do lose your serial number prefix. And now I can still put in my prefix and hit navigate, but you'll see here, you don't have a standard configuration selected, so screen's kind of blank.
So you are definitely better if you know the serial number, put the serial number in.
Put it in there. It works pretty good. Now I was about to just do the same thing. I was about to hit search, which would have brought me to this giant page, which if I accidentally hit that, I can just click on the product configuration, actually go back. So you can see you can make circles if you really wanted to without even getting out of it. Do a whole bunch of circles and stuff if you really wanted to, but multiple screens works really well too. So even here that back to where the cylinder liner, I mean, if I wanted to come back, I just hit the home screen. Now I can start searching on something else as far as jump into something else. And now I'm working on a BBX on this one and MLN on this page here.
Yeah, and the two never become one.
The two never become one. I mean, I could take this and drop it out in a complete, total different window. All I did was grab a hold of it, and that's Google Chrome features. Carry it over here if I didn't want them next to each other.
So instead of doing the 509 up there, you're saying right there in the second box is the better way?
Just brings you back to what you guys are used to seeing as far as how to operate SIS in a way that you're used to. Just because this is like a navigate, kind of like a, I don't want to call it a search, but a navigate search.
Well, I'll admit I've been guilty of using the top box and hitting the search button and then getting confused and lost. And so that's a huge time saver for me right there.
Yeah, jumping in right here.
I'm the same way also.
Yeah, it's just they kind of hide it. I mean, I say they hide it. It's going to become normal to us here before long. If you think about how hidden everything is in SIS now, I think once we get used to this, we'll think SIS is crazy. SIS legacy was crazy on how that worked. All these hot links work too. So, like I went to that configuration, and now all these, if I wanted exactly to jump into cylinder liners group where I was kind of at. Again, same ask questions on choose parts list as we see in SIS web now. It's all the same information. I should state this too, is the database that SIS web pulls from is the same database that SIS 2.0 pulls from. So there should be no difference in documentation. But you can see both of these here are the same. Just click on one, and now we went straight from product configuration to a cylinder group lines.
And I love the fact that on the far right-hand side, if you roll that back up, right there's your service articles. So if you click it, there's all of your disassembly and assembly, OMM. It's all right there on one page.
One page.
To me, this is the best way to navigate 2.0.
It is. It is. The search feature I use, honestly, if I'm trying to find service letters, service magazines, TIBs, that's where the search really comes into handy. If you've got a broken bracket and want to see if there's any TIBs out on why this bracket broke or something like that, you just plug in the part number and then hit the search button. Computer's starting to be slow. And I can find if there was a service magazine, there would be somewhere over here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll jump into the search window when I get into something like that. Service letters. I mean, I'll plug in a service letter up there and just see what machines it applies to. Taking out the prefix. So you talked about all the different searches. This search box is dependent on what is in the serial number prefix box. If you put in something in the search box here, margin, and this is stuff that I've searched before, so that's why it pulls it up. So this is kind of like what SIS does for you now, most recent stuff that I've searched. But if I put in margin, it's going to find any margin for this serial number prefix, as Justin was stating. Now it'll find margin for any D8T MLN, but no serial number prefix breaks. So it's going to find it pretty wide. And then if I take it all the way out, it's going to find margin for every tractor there is out there, which is going to be a big results. So it's very dependent on what you put in on this side beside it. Implement, test, and then adjust. So now I went from MLN margin. Now I found my margin pressure test and adjust right here in implement test. This should all look identical to what we're used to seeing too.
It's very different than what we're accustomed to, but it's so much more intuitive. It's easier.
It is easier. It is very different. It is tough. I explained it to a lot of people, like you've lived at your house for however many years you've been working here, whether it be 10, 15, the longer you've worked here, the harder it is when you move houses to remember that new address that you just got. It's a little tough.
It's like eating a square pizza. It looks different, but it tastes the same.
Schematics, I'll jump into it while we're right here. So I'm in service, so I jump down to schematics, and it pulls up different schematics that you have. Kind of gives you 2 drop downs for electrical. You may see a screen like this, you may not. It may pull up a schematic right here inside this window, which is what a lot of people don't like.
You lose all of your Adobe tools.
You lose a lot of the tools, and it gets tough to navigate. I don't recommend messing with it. This is a Google Chrome setting, it's not a 2.0 setting. So you've got this button here to click to view it. Oh, don't know what just happened there.
But all that link's going to do is open it in a new Chrome window. You're still going to be in Chrome, and you're still not going to have your Adobe tools.
That's what it'll do if you have it, the computer setting like that. If it's set up right, it should pop out to a different window and look just like this.
And pull it up in Adobe, so you got what you're accustomed to.
Got what you're used to with all your tools.
So show us how to do that, because I think this is important.
This is very important. So within Google Chrome, doesn't matter which window you're in, you'll have three little dots up here. So this is your, I don't know, all your history and downloads and everything else like that. But you have the settings. Drop down to your settings. And now this is your Google Chrome settings. You get all kinds of stuff on this page. Come down over here to advanced. Privacy and security, so it's the next one down. Now once you come into privacy, you'll see you don't even really have to scroll down. Sites and settings should be right here. So you're going to set up, control what information websites can use and what content they can show you. Come to here, and then it's almost 3/4 of the way down. You can find PDF documents. And then there's a box here for download PDFs instead of automatically open them in Chrome. So you would check that box. It defaults to unchecked. So that's how yours will be. If it's open enough inside Google Chrome, you check it, and that's going to help you open them up outside of Google Chrome and keep your schematics looking
So
usable.
once you do that, don't you have to refresh your screen?
It works immediately. Should work immediately.
If it doesn't, refresh your screen.
Okay. If it don't, I'll turn it off. We'll see if it like refresh this one, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It may. No. So that changed it.
Yeah, the times I've seen it is when you tell it to open in Adobe,
Yeah.
I've had to refresh the screen before it would actually open a PDF.
I don't know if this is an Adobe setting or not. I'm not real sure about this one, to be honest with you, but that took it out as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I just leave this checked, and then you can get out, and hopefully. It will do, it kind of like freaks out for a second, pops in.
Yeah, it popped it out though. But to your point, Johnny, if you have troubles with it, the best thing is always refresh your screen.
That's worked for me.
Yeah.
Refresh it. So hopefully that clears up some schematic stuff. Trying to think if there's anything else I can really show you in here. This, if you just works just like that search box that we were in when we were inside there, same exact thing. I mean, if I should have grabbed let's see if I have a media number. All your media numbers will pull up. Pulls in the 2 media numbers that I had. I had no idea what I was searching. It's just whatever I've looked at in the past. So TIBUs work, except for when your TIB doesn't actually work. These is, like I said, this is just stuff that I've had in there. And so the infamous PS 53803, we can pull that up. So this is all of our service letters for the EJs. You will notice too that it will multiply some of the results a little bit, and that's due to, like I talked about, the publications and articles.
Mm-hmm.
So you're searching all.
Right.
So if you just want an article, now you wouldn't get any repeats. You have 2 separate versions. You can see your versions down here at the bottom, TEB 7862-6, and then this is a totally different one. So they're not duplicates. To where you may see some duplicates because you're finding that page within the book, but then you're also finding the book.
Yep.
So like that one, 7862, 7862. So those 2 are duplicates. They'll get you to the same place. You can see the icon is different. One's the page, one's the book. It's just how intuitive the search feature is. You may get a little duplicates, but.
So Ryan, do we know when we anticipate a cutover to do away with the legacy version of SIS, and we have to use SIS 2.0 on a regular basis?
I don't have a for sure date, but I can tell you what their goals are. And then, goals change. Sometimes you meet them, sometimes you don't.
Yep.
It is January 2021 will be their goal to get everybody over to this. They are watching usage. So SIS or Caterpillar's watching usage of SIS Legacy versus SIS 2.0, and they're grouping them by regions. Now, we haven't heard a whole lot from them because I've been pushing it and people have been clicking on it from our dealership. So the ones that aren't, they are focusing time on those to try to get the world changed over to SIS 2.0.
Yeah. So if they hit their goal of January 2021, we've got about 10 months for everybody to get accustomed to using this.
Yep.
So we strongly encourage everybody to get on board with using it as much as possible.
Right, is there any additional training available as far as on, channel 1 or?
So the very first page here, these are pretty nice. These give you quick videos on what's new, releases. So all the releases are coming out on channel 1, excuse me. They do SIS Tuesdays, which is just they usually do the release and then they'll come out with SIS Tuesdays and they'll actually get some people to talk about it. So they record those are in there. I think they have their own channel. Right here's related media for introducing SIS. So there's definitely, this is introduction.
Okay.
So there's definitely some additional videos out there.
And then I noticed when you were in configuration of your, over to the right, under your DO90, there was a training. What does that go to?
I think that's gonna go, yeah,
It's to their SharePoint site.
the SharePoint site. So there's a quick start guide. This isn't a video. I think it's kind of, I don't even know what they want to call this thing.
So if you're a legacy user and you've never been to 2.0, that's a great place to go to. Get
Good
you
place to
started.
kind of get started. I mean, it labels everything.
Right.
Kind of what we discussed today.
So between using the training link and between using channel 1 as a resource, and then obviously this training session, there's ample material. There's an ample amount of material out there to help support this transition.
Anything else?
I think I'm good. Greg, you got anything?
No, I think he just about answered everything that I really wanted to know. So he did a good job.
All right. Well, Ryan, we really appreciate you taking time out of your day to help us with this short little video. And again, we encourage everybody to start transitioning and using SIS 2.0. This is the future that CAT is putting before us, and it'll be better for all of us if we jump on board with it. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.